Yeah. Okay. Um, German election. Okay, so now the the AfD and the BSW, one is being regarded as extreme right, and the other, I guess, also Sarah Wagenknecht is now being also regarded as extreme right or something. I don't know. Some places call her extremely left. But anyway, those two, the
Mm.
so-called extremists, are now
Mm.
doing well, much
Yeah.
better than, for example, the Green is no longer. I don't think they got enough. They didn't pass the 5%, at least in one of the provinces, I think. But
Mm.
anyway, so for me, the result is now the West media is saying, okay, this is so shocking, whatever. I find that the most shocking part to me is it took the German voter this long for them to realize that the ruling party that they have in place now is not really working very well. They're not serving the best interests of German. So that's the only surprising to me. The result itself, I'm not that surprised. What do you think?
You are absolutely correct. Now, I think the reason why it has taken this long goes back into Germany, German history. Firstly, Germany has been a very successful country in the last 50 years. And that means that there has been huge trust in the political system. People believe that the German political system has, they believe in it in a way that they don't quite believe in it in Britain. So if the German chancellor comes along and says something, then people tend to accept that it's true. The media in Germany is even more controlled than it is in the United States and in Britain. It's an astonishing fact, but it is true. And when I say it's controlled behind every German newspaper. You will find an American foundation. It's again a legacy of the Cold War era, but the Americans have the German media completely sewn up. So that also plays a significant role. And of course, there's also German history, the fact that Germany has been through this very difficult and complicated history, as we all know, and getting close to the United States, getting close to the European Union, all of that was seen by many Germans as somehow escaping all of that, putting that all behind them, and becoming part of what they believe to be the civilized world. Of course, they don't quite think the Russians or Chinese or Indians are civilized people. The Americans are. But that sentiment in Germany does and did exist. Now, what has happened? Oh, and the final thing to say is that for a lot of Germans, the SPD, the Social Democratic Party of Germany, which is the ruling party, it is the oldest party in Germany. One of its founders, by the way, was Karl Marx. Just saying.
Okay.
I mean, it goes all the way back to the 19th century. So it has enormous history and tremendous feelings of loyalty focused upon it, which, again, one cannot discount. But people in Germany are not stupid. There is a very extensive independent media in Germany, though it is not. Germany doesn't have its social media. Its own. There's no German social media
Mhm.
platforms, but there is a significant independent media culture in Germany. The situation economically is very bad. People are starting to question the way that the war in Ukraine is going. And I think I mentioned I was in Germany a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I was very struck by the shift amongst the people that I saw there. And this was in Western Germany, mind
Mhm.
you. That they were worried about the war, they were worried about the economic situation, they had no confidence in the German government, they despised the Green Party, which many of them recently had supported. This was a social democratic area, so they were shocked by the behavior of the SPD, which was so completely unlike what they thought. So it's not, as you said, it's taken a long time to happen, but it is happening now. And if we now go to the BSW, the thing about it is that put aside forget all the rhetoric. It's talk about far right is ridiculous. What it is ultimately is the party that is now stands by the political traditions that one used to associate in Germany with the SPD, with the Social Democratic Party of Germany. I mean, it believes in a mixed economy. It believes in strong social security systems. It seeks peace. It seeks good relations with Russia. All the things that, as I said, the SPD used to stand for.
Yeah, it's you pointed out, right? Those two provinces, Saxony and Thuringia, they used to be the Eastern Germany provinces. And the Guardian said this, I find interesting. It says that the election results underline the festering cultural differences between East and West 35 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, with many voters in the former communist region highly receptive to anti-Western and pro-Russian appeals. I would say it's the opposite. I think East Germany was very much stopped believing in the Soviet-style communism, and they were eager to join the West of Germany, and they pulled down a whole wall to join the West Germany. It is the West who, I think, let them down, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I completely agree. I am entirely in agreement with that. By the way, I should tell you that we've just done an interview with an East German, well, somebody who comes from East Germany, Michael von der Schulenburg, a German aristocrat, as you can guess, but he's a member of the BSW and a friend of Sarah Wagenknecht. And basically, he's making exactly that point. He was there when all the protests against the communist government happened in East Germany. He remembers them. He remembers how peaceful and orderly they were, how it's all about democracy. I should say, and this is the thing to say about East Germany, it was always a place where, even though there was a revulsion against the communist government and a desire to join with the West, there was always a tradition of social democracy, of socialism there, which is perhaps a bit stronger than you will find in some parts of Western Germany. But fundamentally, you are right. They are very disappointed by the kind of Germany that they've joined. They did not want to join a militaristic, aggressive, Atlanticist Germany. That was not part of their agenda at all. I wanted to say one other thing. If you go to West Germany, which I know much better than East Germany, the only part of East Germany I've ever visited, or former East Germany I've ever visited, is Berlin, by the way. But if you go to West Germany, you will find that people are every bit as unhappy, as disaffected, as disillusioned with the political system and the political class as they are in East Germany. There is a difference, and it's not the one that people are saying. One of the differences is the way in which German unification was carried out was that it was basically the annexation of East Germany by West Germany, which meant that the West German political class was imposed, if you like, on East Germany. Now, that means that East Germans don't have that same series of loyalty to the political system because it isn't one that emerged organically in East Germany. Whereas in West Germany, it's different. It's still their political class. The CDU, the SPD, the Greens, they're still their parties. I think it's only a question of time before that changes. And I'm going to make a guess. I'd say that the BSW in particular has a real possibility of starting to make inroads in Western Germany as well.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. BSW, Sarah Wagenknecht, I mean, this is a brand new party, isn't it? They got 12% of Saxony and Thuringia 16%. That's pretty remarkable for a brand new party, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in other places, in Berlin, for example, I think potentially they could do even better. I mean, Berlin is, by the way, I mean, it particularly left East Berlin, very left-wing city, actually. And in West Germany, places like Hamburg, for example, I can see them breaking, or Munich. Yeah, Bavaria is rather conservative, but Munich itself, again, I think it's the sort of place where I could see them breaking through, in the sort of more traditional working class social democratic areas, the coal and steel towns, the engineering places in Stuttgart, in all of these places. I could definitely see that a lot of the people there would look at the BSW and say, this is us. That's that what they're saying is what we think.
And as a woman, I can't help but compare, both AfD's the chair, Alice Vidal, and Sarah Wagenknecht, to compare that
Yeah.
with Kamala Harris. Now, sorry, I know it's a strange comparison, but I do, because in the meantime, Kamala Harris is giving an interview on CNN. The
Yeah.
overall feeling, I mean, I feel like after I watched the whole thing, I just don't feel like she has much of an energy. She's much younger than Donald Trump. I find that Donald Trump, whatever you feel about him, but when he's out talking, he always seems very energetic. I don't feel the energy there, being a much younger person. And also it's odd, we say, okay, finally she gives an interview, but it's not really her, it's she and the Waltz, right? Why
Yeah.
does she need this kind of emotional support or something?
Yeah.
What's your take on that interview?
Well, I thought exactly the same. I mean, I listened to it, I watched it, and at the end of it, I said, "That's it. Is that all?" I mean, what exactly did she say at the end of the day? I mean, I don't think she said anything very much. I've already forgotten it, most of it. I mean, there's nothing there to take a real grip and handle on, because there isn't anything. Uh, Waltz was there basically to act as her minder, to prevent the interview getting out of control, because one gets the sense that he's a rather more experienced and, solid figure than she is. He understands how to run politics better. But Kamala herself, I thought, came out as a completely empty vessel. I just didn't see anything. I mean, I don't have anything to add to what you said, really.
Yeah, yes, there's no substance in those interviews.
No.
Even though I do think Dana Bash did ask us some good questions, but she
Yeah.
didn't ask follow-up questions. I think
No.
that's whatever Kamala Harris's answer, she just took it, right, without
Yeah.
pressing for more. But my guess is you can't get much out of it, even if she did press for more. She just very seems like floating the ideas and some concept that may or may not be making sense, and without any concrete substance in there. That seems the overall, that's how Kamala Harris answer questions. That seems like, yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I have to say. I think that we've probably passed the peak of Kamala
Yeah, yeah.
mania. Actually, I mean, I've heard some reports that the polls are starting to turn
Mhm.
against her,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't. I mean, I haven't seen them myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was so. I There was a lot of excitement around her, which is completely confected, and I get the sense it's all. I mean, because it's running on empty. That is what I think. That's the point you're making, and I think it's absolutely the right one. This whole campaign is running on empty. Um, she doesn't seem to have a compelling reason to give
Mhm.
for why she should be president. She doesn't want to become president now, which, by the way, she could. I just saying, I mean, she's the vice
Mhm.
president. The
Yeah.
president himself has been prevented from standing, largely, partly by her, because he's old, decrepit, ill, all of that. I mean, if she wanted him out of the way, I mean, she could do that, and she could become president, and then she could take decisions, and we could all judge her on those decisions, and that would be an interesting thing to do, and what you might expect her to do, to actually run as the
Mhm.
incumbent. But she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to be put in a position where she has a responsibility for anything until eventually she wins the election, when responsibility will be forced upon her, whether she wants it or not.
Well, I think too many times we have these kind of people, you know, they like the idea to be the president because who doesn't, right? You look so powerful or whatever, but they don't really interested in working the job, you know, that requires you to do. I think Liz Truss is a little bit like that too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, now I'm the prime minister, you know, of Britain. But what exactly are you going to do? There's a lot of tough decisions you need to make, right? It's a
Yes.
hard job. I don't think they're quite interested in that aspect of being the leader, don't you think?
This is completely correct. And I mean, I would add something else. I mean, they're the sort of leaders. The Liz Truss is a good case but I'm sure Kamala Harris is no different. They're not the sort of people who are prepared to work at their desk for 15 hours a day, go
Yeah.
through all of the reports, listen to the experts, come to decisions. Which is, by the way, the sort of leader the United States absolutely needs at this time. I'm not sure Trump can do that either, by the way, but you know, that you can make excuses for him. He's rather old, but
Mhm.
I don't get the sense that Kamala has any interest in or desire to do that sort of thing. Um, Putin works like that.
Mhm.
I have no doubt at all, having listened to what he says, that Xi Jinping is like that also.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's somebody who has a complete grasp of everything that he has to deal with, and you can only acquire that through hard work.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this whole idea, like working vacation, what is that? Right? What is working vacation? I don't believe that at all. And they talk sometimes about work-life balance. No, if you're the leader of the country, you don't have work-life
No.
balance. You can have work balance to take your priorities, what you work on, but you can't have work-life balance. But otherwise, this is not your job. You shouldn't be doing this. I always believe that this so-called work-life balance, it's bothers me if you are the leader of a country. I don't believe that at all.
That is completely correct. I mean, it's obviously being the leader of a country is a tremendous privilege, but it's also a tremendous responsibility. And leaders who forget that, who want the privilege but not the responsibility, in the end, are not leaders.
No. Yeah. And we talk about it in the aristocracy countries. I actually agree with you that in many cases, the kings, the queens in Britain's case, and the emperors, etc. Many times they actually has more response. They feel they have more responsibility towards this
Yeah.
country's people than these people, because maybe because of their ancestors are the ones who fight and get them into where they are, whatever the reason, I do find throughout the Chinese history, and also I think in British history, they are kings and queens and emperors. They work extremely hard. They're not, easy job. And compared to what we have today, they are much, much more responsible for what's going on in their country, I find.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how Chinese people will feel about my bringing him up, but I was reading a poem that was written by Li Su. Li Su was, the prime minister of Qin Shi Huangdi. I hope I'm pronouncing
Yeah.
his
Mhm.
words right. Anyway,
Yeah.
he wrote a poem in which he said that the emperor, he didn't, um, he didn't count. He did when he had all these documents that he had to work with. He didn't measure them by number, he measured them by weight. I mean,
Yeah.
there were vast numbers of documents that he had to go through. And, whatever you may think of him, and I know that people have different views about him in China, look at what he achieved. He united China, he built the Great Wall, he standardized weights and measures, he sorted out the coinage, he built the roads. You can't do that sort of thing unless you work incredibly hard. The first Ming emperor, I remember I was reading the kind of work day that he had.
Mhm.
He was a
Yeah.
tremendous worker.
Oh,
He was a phenomenal worker. And again, he didn't just set up the dynasty, but he put China in a very strong economic and political foundation. And leaders in Chinese history followed since then have been that way. I mean, all the way going back, I suspect, to the Duke of Zhao and all of the other leaders of antiquity. People work hard. You can't
Yes.
work otherwise. If you read the Chinese texts, it's taken for granted that the
Mhm.
leader works hard. If you
Yes.
read what all the various advice that was given to Chinese leaders, always the assumption was that they would work hard. And of course, it wasn't just seen as the leaders, it was part of the example that the leaders gave, because Chinese society believes in people, you know,
Yeah.
working and fulfilling their responsibilities to their country and their family and all the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's expected that the leader that should work hard. Yeah, you get so much
Absolutely.
privilege and special treatment, and yes, the expectation is you need to work hard. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.